We want to thank you for your time. We have several updates that we're excited to share with you today about the University of Kansas. And we just appreciate all the hard work that you are doing in whatever environment you are working in, whether your school is remote only, whether it's hybrid, whether it's in person. Thank you to all of you for all of your hard work. We know 2020 has been a challenging year for everyone, and we greatly appreciate all the hard work you're doing to serve your students. And so thank you. And with that, I have several colleagues from the University of Kansas who have joined me today. So they're each going to introduce themselves, and then we're just going to continue and proceed with our presentation. And so we will go ahead and get started. So Dr. Melvin, thank you for joining. And if you want to introduce yourself, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, Matt Melvin, Vice Provost for Enrollment Management.
Hi, I'm Chris Anderson. I'm the Associate Dean for Undergraduate Programs at the School of Business. And with me today is one of our recruiters, Elizabeth Carr. Elizabeth, please introduce yourself.
Hey, I'm Elizabeth Carr, recruiter and academic advisor with the School of Business.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Sarah Crawford Parker, and I'm the director of the University Honors Program.
I'm Chris Wiles. I'm the Assistant Dean of the University of Kansas School of Engineering.
All right, thank you everyone for joining us. And I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Melvin, and then as the presentation goes on, each person will just continue to present the information that they have to share with you today. And feel free to let us know if you have any questions.
Yeah, again, thanks for taking the time. I think this is always a new thing that we've always done in terms of things I've never thought I would do before in my life, is do a virtual event for guidance counselors. So we appreciate you taking the time. I will say I've got an 8th grader working in the basement that may be starting to play the baritone in his band class. So apologize if you hear some sounds coming from my basement. But what I want to do is just kind of give you some highlights. And again, you know, it's a very turbulent time. There's no doubt about it. And what we've tried to do is adjust really as we've moved on the fly. And so we've got our, you know, those standards that have assured admissions criteria. Obviously, one of the questions people want to know is, can I be admitted? And what we did is move to a kind of a test flexible or test optional pathway in addition to those assured standards. You know, in Kansas, the state test was in play before COVID hit, but we know some of those out-of-state markets, particularly in Chicago, if anyone's from Chicago or some of the more urban areas, have really not been able to test. So what we wanted to do is continue to have kind of a very clear and transparent process for students that have had tests and GPA, but also create kind of that pathway, the third pathway for assured admissions with students with a 3.4. And that's cumulative or weighted or unweighted GPA. That, again, we want to be transparent in that process to make sure that those students can be admitted. That said, if a student, again, is a little short of those thresholds, we don't want them and don't discourage them from applying for admissions. We want more students in the pool. We'll do kind of a holistic review, take a peek at their intensity of the high school curriculum. We'll take a peek at, you know, what their rank is. We'll take a peek at where their scores are. Again, our intentions, our admissions process is not to deny students. We just want to make students can be successful at KU. So again, we're looking at, you know, if students at a 3.25 or 3.3, not really concerned about that. But the goal is, again, to talk about that good academic fit, the expectations and opportunities at an AAU institution, again, to make sure that those students can really not just survive, but they can thrive at KU. They can engage in the curriculum, they can engage in the co-curriculum experience, and really leverage the capacities and opportunities at KU to get where they want to go. So those standards should be fairly straightforward again. But if you've got those students that you're working with that are under those thresholds, again, work with their admissions reps, work with Lisa and her team. Again, we want to do that holistic review on those students. And let's just go to the second thing, because the other thing is, how can I pay for this, is kind of the second issue. We will continue to have kind of our transparent scholarships for those with test. So we've got an in-state kind of grid concept that there'll be automatic criteria provided those students are in the pool. And we've extended the deadline for priority admissions to December for scholarship consideration. So we'll continue to have that process, but for which those students that have test sitting on a score with GPA will be automatically awarded. And then we're also in the process of developing a strategy to award students based upon their high school curriculum and high school GPA that have not been able to take tests. So the opinion is we don't want to we don't want to hurt a student that has a test. We don't want to harm a student that has a test. So again, we want to be very accepting and open for those students that are not able to test. So we will continue to award and are developing a strategy to award students merit aid without a test score. The challenge we have, to be honest with you, is really budgetarily, because what we have is this huge compression of students in the admit pool that are in that 3.9, 3.95, 3.98 category. So we've got to look at other ways to try to distribute the awards on that. But again, if a student comes to us with a test score and they can send us a test score up until April, we've extended that, we will always award the student the scholarship that best fits them. If a student is on the grid here and they're not on the grid, so we're going to see some lifting and shifting of students that are going to be moving into the grid based upon a test optional way, and also that will lift up into the grid. And again, our concept, and we want to just be honest with students and their parents, is we're going to have great equity in those decisions as much as we possibly can to make sure that a student will not be hurt or harmed with their ACT score. Same thing is when the out of state, we'll continue to have the transparent grid, and then we'll create a test optional pathway for those students. What we want students is to apply for admissions. You know, sometimes our transparency is a blessing and a curse, I think, in both our admissions processes and our scholarship processes. So a student cannot be considered for applications or considered for scholarships if they don't have an application on file. So again, we want those students to apply, and then we will work with those students to make sure that they get an award from merit award. And then we also encourage students to fill out the FAFSA to come back with a kind of a secondary approach that will give out some additional dollars as we move to equity packaging to look at from need perspective. Again, we want to have a more balanced perspective in terms of awarding for merit, but also understanding that financial families have experienced financial distress, tremendous financial variability and volatility in the market. So we want to kind of balance all out with a need-based approach as well. So that should be kind of where we're at in terms of the admissions process. That's where we're at with the scholarship process. Again, we want students to apply. Students will not be hurt or harmed with their score, and we'll have great equity within those award decisions. And we'll hopefully get those out. What day is it? October. We're finalizing our process right now, and we should have those awards out in I think in the next 7 to 10 days, hopefully. And let's just go on then, and Lisa can talk about some of these critical dates and deadlines, just to make sure that kind of we're moving people through. I know students, some schools haven't even started yet, you know, are going online, haven't had face-to-face yet. So again, we want to hit these deadlines just to kind of provide a structural framework to help students kind of guide and navigate that process.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Mellon. We appreciate that update, and it is an important update for our students about our admission and scholarships path. And so we really appreciate that information. If you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. I am checking the chat as we go on this morning. These are just a few other reminders that we share with students. And many of you already know all of this information, but the FAFSA has already opened, and we have updated our dates a little bit this year as well. If students are admitted and file the FAFSA by December 1, we actually will notify them in late December this year, which is much earlier than we've done in the past. So the December 1 day is an early notification date for them to file the FAFSA. And then our other recommended date to file is then February 1. So if they, like I said, if they're admitted and have filed the FAFSA by December 1, they actually will receive their early financial aid, notification in late December. And then if it's after that point, we will then start those packages on a rolling basis in mid-February. So that's kind of how the FAFSA will work. The timing for receiving merit-based scholarship awards, as Matt mentioned, if they meet the grid that we had just shown, they actually are receiving those notifications 7 to 10 days after they have been admitted to KU. So students who've already been admitted, who meet the existing grid, are already receiving their scholarship award. And those who will be considered because they don't meet the matrix, but as Dr. Melvin shared, we will be reviewing them. We're still working on the timeline of when we will start that review and how often that will be sent. Some have asked, what's the difference between November 1 and December 1? We had made the decision back in the spring to actually move our scholarship deadline to December 1. Many of you know it's been November 1 in the past. we decided to go ahead and move that. And we're certainly glad that we did, especially given everything that COVID and the has been allowing, I don't know, it just helps all students, I think, to have a little bit later deadline. But at the same time, we wanted to encourage students to apply early if they can. So if they do apply by November 1, they get a few extra early notifications and options to do some things early. For example, they can go ahead and apply for housing. They can, they'll be the first group to register for orientation in the spring. And we're going to send them a few KU gifts if they do that. It's not a date where they have to commit to KU. It just gives them a few extra early notification items. And then again, the final deadline to be considered for scholarships is December 1. And we are allowing students to continue to retake the test if they can and have the opportunity to do so, and send us updated scores by April 1st or an updated 7th semester grade point average. As long as they have applied by December 1, they can send that to us by April 1. And then our enrollment deposit deadline remains the same. That's kind of a national deadline, as you know, but students can go ahead and pay the enrollment deposit now if they have been admitted and know they want to be a Jayhawk. So we encourage students to just be applying. As you know, this is the busy application season for filling out that application, and we certainly would love to see your students applying to KU if it's one of their top choices. And then we just wanted to share all the many visit options that are available at the University of Kansas. We started campus visits in September, so we do have on-campus visit options available to students. They have been going very well, and we have been given a lot of positive feedback from the families visiting. They are out there and available to families starting, they can set them up all the way through December. And actually, we just recently postponed this. I forgot to update the PowerPoint. They will then resume in the spring on January 11th. That's due to some buildings being open and things like that. And then we'll be setting the spring visits up very soon so they can start registering for spring visits as well. And then we continue to offer a variety of virtual visit options. So if students don't have the opportunity to visit campus, there are still many ways for them to explore campus virtually. All of this information can be found on our visit website, which is right here, visit.ku.edu. I feel that one thing we've learned through COVID is how we can expand our visit options, whether it's on campus or virtual. There's opportunities to meet individually with our admissions representatives, as well as our academic departments. They are mainly doing all visits virtually, and all that information can still be found at this same website, visit.ku.edu. I feel like we've done a great job expanding that, where we list all the different academic information sessions that are available, as well as the contact information for academic majors across campus. So we sure hope you encourage your students to visit KU in some format, that whichever works best for them, and this is the best place to find out all those visit options. Or as always, they can contact their admissions representative and walk through that information. So now I'm going to turn it over to my colleagues in the School of Business, and they're going to share some updates with you. So we'll turn it over to them.
All right. Again, I'm Chris Anderson. I'm the Associate Dean for Undergraduate Programs. I'm just here to give you a quick introductions and say, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact me or Elizabeth Carr. But I'm going to let Elizabeth drive the rest of the presentation here. Again, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to me now during the chat or afterwards via email or even telephone me.
Thanks, Chris. As I said earlier, I'm Elizabeth, recruiter and academic advisor with the School of Business. We do have some updates on our admission requirements. I'm sure many of you may have been getting questions from students who don't have a test score yet. And so just late last week, we were able to approve a test optional direct admission pathway for our incoming freshmen for 2021. So if you have students who don't have a test score, if they have a 3.4 or higher GPA, they can still be admitted to the School of Business for 2021. So we're working on getting that updated and sending notifications to students who have already applied to KU and can now be admitted. So if you have any students with questions, they can definitely contact me or Chris, and they should be getting updated admission letters in the coming weeks. So students can do that test optional pathway, or they can continue to be admitted through our ACT and GPA index score. So you can see the grid on the slide. We have that on our website as well. Students can use the little equation to the side to find out their index score, and as long as it's above a 5.55, they can be admitted to the School of Business their first semester. The other way to be admitted is through our competitive admission process, and we have changed this over the last year as well to make it easier for students. So competitive admission is for students who maybe don't meet our direct admission requirements or come to KU as a different major and switch to business, or they transfer to KU from another institution like a community college, and they would start as pre-business in the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences and then apply to the School of Business once they have 30 credit hours, a 2.5 or higher GPA, and have completed 3 of our foundation courses. Okay, I think we can go to the next slide, Lisa. Yeah. I also want to highlight a few of our enrichment programs and scholarship programs that are available for students. So first is our business leadership program. And to keep in line with our new test optional admission pathway, we also updated the eligibility requirements for our business leadership program to provide a test optional pathway for students to apply. And so students who have a 3.8 or higher GPA are eligible to apply for the business leadership program, or they can meet our previous requirements, which was a 3.5 or higher and a 28 or higher ACT. So whichever one they fall into, they can apply for the business leadership program. We definitely encourage any student who is eligible for the program to apply. It is competitive to get into, but it's an incredible opportunity to have a small cohort of students, about 30 students in the program each year. It's for the first 2 years, so freshman and sophomore year, and they get some really hands-on experience with developing leadership skills and applying those leadership skills. There's a scholarship as well, so it's $2,000 for the first year and $1,000 for the second year. So if you have students who are interested, the priority deadline is December 15th, so coming up just later this fall. And then if you have students who don't meet the eligibility requirements by December 15th, but they do by February 1st, they can apply by our final deadline of February 1st. Okay, and then the next scholarship program and enrichment program is our Multicultural Business Leadership, or Multicultural Business Scholars program, excuse me. And it's similar to the business leadership program, it being a small cohort of students. They do some professional development, networking opportunities, leadership development, and creates a community for students. So students are eligible to apply if they are a first generation student, Pell Grant eligible through the FAFSA, or are an underrepresented racial minority. There are no GPA or ACT requirements for MBSP, and that deadline is March 1st. And a difference between BLP and MBSP is that BLP students have to be admitted to the business school as an incoming freshman to apply to the program, where with MBSP, they can be pre-business, they can be admitted to the business school, they can be freshmen, or they can be transfer students or current KU students. So there's a wider variety of where in a student's academic program they could apply to MBSP, and their scholarship is around $2,000 a year, $2,500 a year. So if you have students interested in either of these programs, we will be sending emails to eligible students as well as some postcards to encourage them to apply. And the deadline for MBSP is March 1st. Then the final update is about our visit options. So I'll paste a link in the chat as well. So the School of Business is doing all virtual visits this fall, and students can either go to the visit.ku.edu website that Lisa shared to sign up for those visits, or they can go to our Be a Business Jayhawk link I shared in the chat. And at that link, there's a register button. They can view a virtual tour of Capitol Federal Hall, We also have our view book on there. So if students are able to come to a live presentation or a synchronous presentation, they can get all the information from that view book, view the tour, or they can view pre-recorded presentations that are available in English, Spanish, and Arabic. Then in November, we have a more targeted webinar for women in finance. So if you have any female students who are interested in studying finance, they can sign up for that webinar. The first invite should be going out later this week, if not today. So that registration will be live soon, and get a chance to engage with our Women in Finance student organization. So we definitely encourage students to visit with us virtually. Most of our visits will have a current business student so they can talk to somebody in the program. And yeah, we hope they can come visit. So I will also share my contact information and Chris's contact information in the chat. So if you have questions after today or throughout the rest of the semester, definitely feel free to contact us or send students our contact information. We're happy to connect with them. So next is Dr. Sarah Crawford Parker with the honors program.
Thanks so much, Elizabeth. It's good to be with everybody today. Can you hear me okay? Yep. Okay. Just a couple of brief updates from honors. One of the first things I'll share is, we continue to be a highly rated program. The most recent Inside Honors ratings came out in August, and we were tied with 6 other programs, honors colleges nationally with a perfect score in that evaluation. And so we were excited about that. We think that we continue to have really, really good opportunities for our students. I wanted to spend a little bit of time just talking about the sort of network of support we've built for students and some of what they can expect if they continue with KU and the honors program. And one of the first things I just wanted to show you is that for our incoming students in particular, we've restructured advising, we've made a couple of changes. But all of our students, when they come into the honors program, are assigned a faculty mentor, who is the person that teaches their honors seminar in the first semester they're in the program. They all have an honors advisor who works with them in terms of their course planning and really figuring out, what it is that they want their education to look like. And then they have a seminar assistant, which is a sort of peer-to-peer contact. And we've found that these 3 pieces are really sort of an important starting point for all of our students to really make sure that as they're coming into the institution, they're meeting, a set of people who are really going to help them to navigate this experience. Lisa, can you go to the next slide? Thank you. Some of you are already familiar with how we have the program structured, but when our students come in, they all still take an honors seminar with a really, really great faculty member. One of the things to keep in mind if you're new to the honors program at KU is that we are a university-wide program. So we have students in all the various majors in the college, but we also have students in all of the professional schools, and we work really closely with the professional schools, including colleagues on this call, to make sure that students are getting connected in a variety of different ways. I'm giving you 2 examples here of honors seminars that we had in the fall for our students. One is being taught by Nila Vakal, who is a faculty member in architecture, on inclusive cities. And you can see the image is small, but on the left, students who recently went with Professor Vakal down to the Lawrence Public Library to think about how spaces like libraries really contribute to the communities in which we live in. And then on the right, I'm showing you Professor Dave Tell from Communication Studies, who is teaching an honors seminar for us right now on the history of communication. And one of the great things that Professor Tell has done for his seminar is that he's used the Jayhawk Career Network, which is a wonderful tool through our Alumni Association, to identify 4 honors graduates to come in. They're all working in the field of communications, and to do some work with our first-year students so they can sort of think about what are the various ways you can study communications and what are some of the things that you can do with it. And one of the things I want to put a plug in for KU overall is we're incredibly strong in terms of our alumni network. And so that's another piece that we really, really want to bring into the student experience. We continue to have, in addition to the honors seminars that all of our students take, about 100 honors courses that we offer each semester in a range of different disciplines and programs. Lisa, you want to? And then I also just wanted to mention some new signature programming that we have in honors. This was programming that started last year in a face-to-face format, but now has been shifted to virtual. And actually, it's been exciting to see in the virtual realm that we have actually higher levels of student participation and so greater access to these programs. One on the left that you're seeing is called Living in Color, which is a program that centers the experiences of students of color in the honors program. And so they do lots of different sessions on things like preparing for graduate school and finding experiential learning opportunities and really just talking about their experiences. And that includes both faculty, staff, and students. The other program that we have is Take Care Tuesdays. We're really prioritizing in honors this idea of well-being and how do students balance well-being as a college student. And so that is a program that comes out bi-weekly in email installments, but it also has an additional sort of monthly meeting component. So those are some of the things that are new in our program. I will share with our application process for this year a couple of different updates. One is that we have gone test optional for fall of 2021. If you have students who are applying to KU and the honors program, if they're using the KU application or the common application, they can go ahead and apply to honors. It's a linked process. However, because those applications were programmed way back in the spring, you do have to submit a test score in order to access the honors application. So if your student does not have a test score on record, but they want to apply to honors and they want to do so in the test optional way, they can just go to honors.ku.edu and apply directly through our website. We have made one significant change in the application, a couple of changes for this year. So this will be new for many of you. We've dropped the resume component and we've replaced that with 3 short answer questions. In addition to the essay. And what we found is the 3 short essay or the 3 short questions, short answer questions have really given students more space to talk about their interests and what they're passionate about. So as you're talking with students, you know, really if you can convey that they'll probably want to take a little bit more time with the application to be able to do those short answer questions and to think about how with the essay, those are the pieces that really help us to get to know our students that are applying to the program. And so they really want to take some time with that. We are evaluating applications now in 4 different areas. So we're looking for the depth, what depth have students developed in high school in terms of developing some expertise or a passion in a particular area. We're looking at breadth. So did students take a range of different courses and have a range of different experiences? We're looking at academic challenge, and we really see that through their activities and their transcript. And then we're also looking for leadership potential. So what inspires the student? What is the change they want to make in the world? So we have started to evaluate applications already. Our deadlines match the Office of Admissions. So we have a December 1st priority deadline, and we really encourage students to meet that. That coincides with the scholarship deadline. But we also have a January 15th late consideration deadline. If students are interested in visiting with the honors program, we have a variety of options available, and those are linked through the Office of Admissions website that Lisa shared previously, but we would be happy to do a visit with students and look forward to those conversations. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to my good colleague, Dr. Chris Wiles in the School of Engineering.
Thanks, Sarah. So we'll do a couple quick updates and a little bit of overview of the School of Engineering. Lisa, can you give me a slide, please? So KU is unique in a few ways when it comes to engineering. There are 57 Tier 1 engineering programs in the world today. All are located in the United States. KU is the only one in the state of Kansas. We don't expect that to change for at least a matter of decades. What that means is every professor in the school works the highest level of our field. In the field of engineering, about 3% of institutions bring in around 70% of the US funding that goes in that field. So we've got some pretty incredible things going on. Typically, I think most people wouldn't think of KU as a small place. Among Tier 1 engineering programs, we're the second smallest in the country. So our average class size is just 20 students. We are 94% faculty taught. These are very unusual numbers. With about 2,500 students, academic peers include Texas A&M that has 25,000 engineering students. Purdue has over 30,000 students. So what we really prioritize is undergraduate education along with that research mission. That means we have incredible faculty, including vice presidents right now from Apple, from Uber, and from Google, who are teaching undergraduate level classes. We have people who are formerly Fortune 500 CEOs on the faculty. So to learn from these people, to work from these people, and then to have the opportunity to learn outside the classroom is incredibly important to us. So those opportunities are curricular. Certainly our curriculum is accredited at the highest level in every program. Every program we offer is a top-ranked program in the state of Kansas. If you go to KU or Purdue or MIT, you will take the same curriculum. It is accredited that tightly in our field. So the differences then really do come down to that size. This is also by design. So you will find that the academic programs we offer focus on higher end technology and design. We do not do basic manufacturing. We will do things like aerospace engineering. We do additive manufacturing, new materials, processes, etc. We do not do agricultural, though there's no plant or animal work going on. We don't do food science. So if your students have those more applied interests, they're certainly welcome to talk to us. We'll help point them in the right direction in terms of academic offerings. But the commonality in our programs will be those real strong technology strengths. As of this year, for the first time in at least 39 years, we do have the biggest program in the state of Kansas. Over time, we've really seen a shift from those applied sciences in the region in terms of career offerings to a higher demand for the higher tech fields, and that has really played into our strengths. If we can go to the next slide, Lisa. We bring about 200 companies per semester on campus. This year we did have a fall virtual career fair, but there's sort of a constant presence. People like Google have told us we're the only place they stop within a 500-mile radius. That is because we are the only Tier 1 school, the only program doing work in this field at this level, sort of in that radius, and it does offer students a whole host of options. We have had freshmen as early as their third week on campus land internships at places including Google, Amazon, Facebook, NASA, and SpaceX. It's not that they know so much that they have to be hired as an 18-year-old. It's that supply and demand in the field of engineering is unlike any other field. For a well-qualified, a well-educated engineer, the demand is hugely in their favor. This year, I anticipate some departments will have an average starting salary north of $100,000 a year. We have a 95% rate of students working in their field. We don't consider you flipping burgers in our field to be a success. You have to be employed as an engineer or progressing in your field within 6 months of graduation. So these are pretty unusual numbers, both in the region and often nationally. We're considered a leader in these fields. We have an in-house career center that really takes good care of engineering-only students. Next slide, please. And then finally, we can talk about admissions criteria, but my one big takeaway I would give any high school counselor or student who's interested in studying engineering, whether it's at KU or otherwise, their math preparation is incredibly important. I can't emphasize this enough. This is the biggest academic barrier most students have when they come to college for engineering. If they are not prepared to apply calculus concepts on day one, they're not able to do physics at the level we do it. They're not able to work in strength and materials or do higher end design. I, as a student in high school, did not like mathematics. I was lucky that I stayed on the appropriate track to keep taking more advanced math coursework. And I remember taking my first college physics course and having the professor put up a chart and saying, you solve this by applying a derivative to the area under the curve. And I looked around and I thought, why didn't somebody show me this application years ago when I was studying this and hated it? So your student doesn't have to be a math nerd. They don't have to love mathematics. If they do, great. They're not getting a math major, but they will need to be able to do a certain amount of pre-calculus or calculus starting on day one. This year, with test scores being in limbo for many students, we are offering a pathway to admissions based on their curricular accomplishments, specifically in mathematics. So you may have some students that come back to you when they apply to KU and list an engineering major, they are automatically considered for admissions and for scholarships to the School of Engineering. We will prompt them for a transcript. We do need that to determine their scores. We can't use their self-reported. The average student has a unweighted 3.84 GPA and a 29 ACT. That is only an average. There are a lot of smart kids out there, but if they have the ability to do pre-calculus, if they're ready to take calculus, we can admit them and we will work with them. This is a bit of an unusual approach in engineering admissions these days, even for quite strong schools around the country. By focusing on this math preparation, we ensure that about 80% of our graduates get out the door in 4 years. And that is unheard of in our field. That's about twice the rate in the state of Kansas. We're a national leader in making sure students succeed, find what they want to do, and have opportunities coming out the door. So a little bit different program. If you have questions, certainly let us know. We do on-campus in-person visits as our availability allows. Certainly feel free to have them scheduled through the Office of Admissions. I believe that's all I have. Back to you,
Awesome.
Lisa.
Thank you, Chris. We appreciate all the updates. So that actually, we did a good job this morning going through all of the information that we have. We are open to any, you can unmute yourself if you have questions, you can send it in the chat. But I did just want to summarize the information that we shared today so that you do know that the University of Kansas worked hard to create a test optional path for all of our direct entry schools. So the assured admission requirements that we showed on the very first slide, that's for admission into the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences, School of Social Welfare, Journalism, and School of Music. But all the other direct entry schools that admit do have a test optional path for admission in their review process. They just have slightly different admission requirements, and all of that can be found on our website. So as Dr. Melvin stated earlier, our biggest encouragement is to have students apply by December 1 so they can be considered for both admission and scholarship consideration at the University of Kansas. So I can't believe it's already October 21st. I don't know where the month of October has gone. I'm sure you all feel that way too. Some months have felt slow this year, but some months have certainly felt very fast, like the month of October. And so we encourage those students to apply. And again, we will stay on and answer any questions that you have. My contact information is listed here. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have. Feel free to email me. I've also listed Dr. Melvin's, his is listed there. And I know the other staff members are happy to do that too. Oh, that's a good question. Do we have any short admission videos that we can share? You know, we certainly do. You know, when I send the thank you for attending, I'll send a link because we have a excellent KU YouTube channel and you could just select whichever one you want because there's some that are longer and some that are shorter. So we would certainly be happy to do that. And if you ever need anything, like if you have a virtual college information and you need a copy of a PowerPoint or video, I've done a planning for college one as well. So if you do need any of that, feel free to contact your admissions rep or contact me and I'd be happy to help you find that. But I'll include that in the thank you for attending, at least the YouTube channel, so that you can grab information there. We will also be sharing a copy of this presentation and a video of it. We've had some counselors who were unable to make it today, so we will have that available as well.
Lisa?
Yes.
While Dr. Sarah Crawford Parker was sharing about honors, I was reminded of one other change we made it to the business leadership program to align that our essays with the honors program. So if students are applying to both, they can use many of the same essays. So just so students are aware of that, there's only one short essay that's different with the business leadership program, but mostly they can just reuse what they used for honors. That's it.
Thanks, Elizabeth. And those are listed on our website, the honors.ku.edu apply website. So if students want to look at those beforehand, those are listed there.
Awesome updates. Thank you all. Does anyone else have questions that they would like to put in the chat or that they would like to ask? like I said, we are more than happy to stay on and answer your questions. But that does conclude our formal presentation in terms of the updates we wanted to share with you. We hope that you found this to be helpful. We know that it's overwhelming, all the different information that takes place. And for any of the counselors that are here from the state of Kansas, and we know we have both in-state and out-of-state, but there was a Board of Regents update yesterday just with the qualified admissions for all the state universities. And so you might reach out to the Board of Regents for those updates, but the main message that was given at that presentation was that all the state universities do have a test optional path for admission. Wanted to make sure to share that too. Well, we will stay on for a couple more minutes. And other than that, you guys have a wonderful Wednesday. We hope the weather turns around. Of course, it's rainy and dreary here today, and it's supposed to be 80 tomorrow, but that's Kansas for you. So we hope you enjoy the rest of your week. And like I said, we are here as resources for you. So feel free to reach out or add a message in the chat or unmute. And we'll stay on for a couple more minutes. But thanks again for your time. We know you all have very busy schedules.